Oh,
That movie's
dude.
amazing.
How
The
could
movie's
you?
fantastic. Because it's a great movie. It's not as sad as Inside Out.
But still, inappropriate.
State of the Nerd Union is live now with us. I am here tonight with Kenneth, Steve, and myself, who is Jerry. Welcome to State of the Nerd Union. Sorry we were a little bit late on starting the show tonight. We just had some stuff we wanted to make sure we got in the notes. There's a lot of news that happened this week, and we are here to recap all of it with you. Steve, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty good. We'll get into it later, but there was something I resisted buying extra hard, but everybody else is doing it, so I decided to get into it too. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but otherwise everything's everything. How you doing, Jerry?
Yeah. I've had a stressful week to say the least, but it's progressively getting worked out and solutions are in place. So
Nice.
yeah, life is not always I don't know what I was going for there, but life is not always super easy and wonderful, guys, but it's about how you handle it.
Yeah,
and move forward from
but
it.
everybody's here with our show, so we'll learn a little bit about life, a little bit about love, and a little bit about ourselves along the way.
Hey, Kenny, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine. Probably surprising no one. I bought more video games this weekend. So
Honey!
yeah,
Had to get it in there.
yeah. That's natural. But
That's out of the way.
That's definitely going on a t-shirt.
I got I've been trying to get. I'd had the Mortal Kombat series on PlayStation, but I'd always played it on Xbox when it was after Sega stuff, you know. So finally got that collected. So the last one I needed was Shaolin Monks. So I showed that last week. No, actually, take that back. I showed Shaolin Monks like a week or two ago, but I needed Armageddon. So I sold all my PS2 versions of that, switched it over to Xbox. And if you're wondering why is he doing that, as much as I love PS2 games, sometimes they just they didn't look that great. Sometimes it just, I love PS2, but sometimes they just don't look that good. So yeah, switching over to Xbox looks better, and some of them play on the Series X. So there.
Nice. Pretty neat.
I understand that sentiment. I pretty much have tried to convert everything over to my Nintendo Switch as possible. Just because the convenience of being able to have somebody walk in the room and be like, hey, I want to watch this movie. And me be like, that's cool. Joop! Keep playing. You can't beat that.
Yeah, I remember when I was telling folks about the Nintendo Switch, like the ability to just immediately leave any situation and keep playing games is just like so alluring. I'm like, hey, I'm glad you're here. I really need you to just get up and like leave. It's just great.
Like what I can't hear. What I can't do that.
Yeah, and even still, like, you're like, oh man, I gotta go sit at the DMV for an hour. Wait a minute! Just whoop!
Exactly. Like, that was, like, my go-to example. I'm like, think of it, like, any time your car gets towed and you gotta go down, like, the DMV or whatever. And it's like, that doesn't even matter now. Not even a problem.
Yeah.
Waiting
Every time I get
outside
my
in the
car worked
cold
out.
for the PS5, we were playing Switch.
Got
Got
your
it covered.
Switch.
We was good.
Power to the people. Nintendo power to the people.
Wah, wah.
Speaking of Jerry's bad jokes, we're gonna start the show off talking about Tom and Jerry. So the Tom and Jerry movie has come out. I really don't know anything about it because movies don't exist to me right now because we're still under all sorts of COVID shenanigans right now, or at least movies out in public. But so they started the movie off apparently pretty strong. They had a $33 million worldwide opening over the weekend, which that's pretty good to me. Like,
Yeah, that for a movie that nobody I talk to, and we all consume a lot of cartoons,
Right.
video games, anime, all that stuff. Nobody I talk to has spoken the words Tom and Jerry in the past year. So for a film to come out that somebody had to know about it somehow, and do $33 million in the opening weekend in the middle of a pandemic, that's pretty good.
yeah, there was like almost no marketing that I saw for that movie, so I'm like really surprised that it made any money.
Right? Like when I saw it, I'm like, oh damn, Tom and Jerry. I'll watch that. Yeah, let's watch that.
Kenny look like you have opinions about it.
It's a movie.
It's a movie. Have you seen it?
Look at these
Yes,
plebs out here watching Tom and Jerry.
Yes, I have seen it, but it's
Oh.
yeah. I don't know if I'll get a review out on it, but I have seen it.
I mean, I'm not expecting anything like ridiculous out of it. It's just like any form of enjoyment I get out of it would be good.
Yeah, I mean, you could be like the recent Invader Zim movie that came out, I think, like last year, or like technically like a year and some change ago, or whatever. Like any enjoyment, like, oh, cool, new Invader Zim content. Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, cool.
It's like more Tom and Jerry. I'm like, you could write a review that was just like it's an episode of Tom and Jerry, except it's a movie, and like that would encapsulate everything I need to know about the movie.
Exactly, but it is interesting to see that movies apparently can be making at least a little bit of money in the midst of this pandemic stuff. So that might bode well for when we get some stuff that has some better marketing behind it and people are feeling more comfortable with vaccines and such like that. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how the movie does. I've heard also that AMC movie theaters will also be reopening soon. I think that happens this week, maybe? The 4th?
That seems too soon.
I mean, it does seem too soon, but it doesn't mean it ain't happening.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if everybody going to show up. Well, yeah, I say that, but this is America, so.
Yeah, I know the movie theaters in our town have in our city, have opened up, but they're like revamped, so everything is like COVID safe, and like you have seating areas that are like distanced apart, but it's more like a movie eating experience. Like, how do I put this? If you've ever been to Disney World and been to one of the restaurants where they're like playing a movie and you're also sitting at your table, it's more like that.
It's a dining experience, a dining extravaganza.
Yes, which would be a nice experience. Still wouldn't be enough to save Rise of Skywalker, but it would be a better experience. Blasters fired.
Got him.
If I wasn't holding tea, I'd do a very physically dramatic action, but...
Well, on the list of movies that we weren't expecting, Ta-Nehisi Coates will be not rewriting, but he's going to be making a Superman reboot featuring an alternate version of Superman, Calvin Ellis, who is black and is serving as the president of the Earth 23.
Hey.
I'm really stoked about this. I didn't know any of that. I knew that he was making a movie, but I didn't know like that it was specifically going to be about that Superman, but I wanted it to be. And for those of y'all who don't know, that's like the guy who basically like makes Black Panther amazing. So I'm really stoked about that story of Superman. I really want to see what that narrative looks like in the DC universe in a time currently close to ours. I don't know. I was just really excited about it. Like I went like full hype once I heard about this.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Like I was exposed to that version of Superman, I think when I read what was that? Infinite Crisis, I want to say. And then it was like, I just never heard of him again. So I'm excited to get more of a cinematic what's the word I'm looking for? Exposition on his character.
Yeah. I'm also excited because like now that we know that it's Calvin Kent, like now I don't have to worry about a bunch of racists in comments being like, Kent has to be black because it's central to his, or white because it's central to his character. Because it's not. But yeah, it's nice that we won't have to deal with that debate.
The only thing I can't confirm is, so we know Ta-Nehisi Coates is going to be writing, J.J. Abrams is the producer on it, but the Calvin Ellis seems like it might be more of the internet putting it out there.
Oh.
I'm not...
My bad.
No, it's right. Like, I've heard multiple reports saying this. The actual press release that Collider came out with, that was like, it's definitely confirmed Coates is going to be writing, Abrams producing. It's the Ellis part that's a little fuzzy. I think maybe people just assume because he wrote the Black Panther comics most recently, his run on it. And again, I don't mind it. Michael B. Jordan's been talked about attached to play Soups, which, holy shit.
Yep. Yeah, that would be great.
But again, just haven't heard that officially from Warner Brothers or from Abrams or Coates. So if it ends up changing, people are like, oh, Cavill's still Soups, then don't be surprised. But it also could be that, again, alternate Superman, alternate Earths, that he could exist alongside, because we know that we're getting a Batman in the Flash movie that's going to exist alongside Robert Pattinson's Batman. So if they're already going to do two Batmans, it's not crazy to think that they'll do two Supermen.
I think I actually would also want that. Like, it would be really intriguing to see like Michael B. Jordan Superman with Henry Cavill Superman, and like their various experiences clashing with one another, and them having to like talk about what it means to be Superman in the midst of that. Like, that would be an excellent story.
That'd be pretty dope, because they definitely would have a very different perception of what it means to be the Man of Steel.
Yeah. Like,
but also, while we're throwing out other Supermen out there, I would love to see a cinematic representation of Superman Red Sun.
Ooh, that would be so good.
That was one of my favorites.
That's a really good story.
Have you watched the animated one?
Oh, of course, fantastic.
Hey, I just wanted to check. You know,
it's so good.
Really great. Also, shameless plug for folks out there who haven't seen a lot of the animated DC films. Grab a subscription to DC and go read the source material, go watch the films. The animated DC cinematic universe is like orders of magnitude. I don't know why I went down with that. Orders of magnitude better than the live action DC cinematic universe. So like if you kept watching DC films and you're just like, go watch the animated stuff, because like it's actually good.
The animated stuff will make you sad about the current state of the live action movies, to be completely honest.
It will. Like, it'll make you be like, why don't they just ask one of these people to write one of those films?
Yeah, because Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, even as bonkers as that movie was, I was still like,
that was rough.
I would still kind of want to see this. Even I know it'd be a hard R or like a PG-13 flirting with an R. Like, I would still watch this. Like, if this
I
was
would watch it in a
flirting with an R. What flirting with an R is that?
If you get to say, you get one F-bomb. That's the rule.
Yeah.
And
they would insinuate some of the
more than that, if it's any more than that, then it's rated R.
Yeah,
but I think that could work. Although I feel like I feel like they'd ask somebody to do it who's written other DC films, and I feel like they coddle the source material a little bit too much when it comes to portraying it for in cinema, and I feel like they probably wouldn't do a good job of it personally, based off of all their other failures.
Yeah, I don't know. I do want to see what Abrams does with the Superman. Like, I don't always like Abrams, but I really like Abrams' Star Trek movies.
I like Abrams as a producer. I think and it's not saying he's a bad director by any means, because even though people, like, I know it's easy to jump on him about Rise of Skywalker and Force Awakens, but I love Force Awakens, don't really care for Rise of Skywalker. I think it's just a writing thing, though. I think if someone had written Rise, for example, better, or if we talk about Lost and talk about that forever and Damon Lindelof and stuff, it's like, it's clear they can write other stuff, because like Damon Lindelof went off to do Watchmen and did a much better job with Watchmen than he ever did with Lost. So it's like, I think sometimes they just kind of get in their own way and write some things where like, this is cool. It's like, but did you think that through? And there's other things where everything just comes together and you're like, bravo. Yeah. Because if you ever watch some of our older stuff,
happy in the first half.
If you've ever watched some of our older stuff, I have ragged on Damon Lindelof so much, and I didn't feel like I needed to eat my words when I was on Watchmen, but I did apologize a little bit of like, oh, so you can write well. You just, what happened?
It got better. All right, so Kenny's got something he's pretty excited about, speaking of things that he likes. Do you want to talk about this next point? Because this is definitely all your wheelhouse.
Yeah. So when Halo came out on the, was it Microsoft thing in the summer, August, September, whenever that was, fans were rightly not impressed by what came out. Now, I do think I do feel like some of that was a little overblown. But given the timeline, I think that might be more where it's like, that's understandable. It's like, this is in September, what we're seeing. These character models aren't necessarily the best. We're not even actually, like, the presentation of the show might have been in 4K, but what's actually been shown on the screen is not 4K. But those are things you're kind of like, okay, hopefully it'll get that tuned up. But again, with the original release timeline, it makes sense as a fan, or at least that piece made sense of like, okay, I can see why you're a little concerned. These new 4K screenshots that come out look pretty good, but some things to put in note. These were taken on PC, So this is not saying like I would have felt better if just like, oh, we rendered all like this is live from a Series X and we screen capped from that. It's like that would feel a little better. And then not really. We didn't really get to see like brutes because brutes were the ones that they got. Everyone saw that character model of a brute, and it was like, this looks like a troll. It looks like a bad version of Doomsday from Batman v Superman. Like, what is going on? So these screenshots still don't show us anything like that. So there's more landscape shots, more like Halo ring shots, or kind of like things you'd put on your screensaver kind of shots, not necessarily really good examples of gameplay 4K. So it's a bright spot, and if you follow along with the Free Studio Industries like kind of blog they've been keeping up as they give updates, they talk about it a little more in depth. But yeah, so it's an encouraging sign. I know we still got some time, but I think really the thing that will sell this is what did the character models look, how have they been updated? You do that, I think people will feel a lot better about it.
Cool. Yeah, I would really like to see some of the gameplay from it, honestly. Like, at least just like a couple gameplay videos now that they've been working on it. But I also want them to take their time and make sure that this is like the best Halo ever.
I didn't think I'd ever be excited about a grappling hook, but
oh yeah,
one of the developers, I think we I don't know if we got to talk about it a week or two ago, but they gave an update of like, you'll be able to be pretty creative with this grapple hook. They're like, you could theoretically run out of ammo in the current gun you have and see one across the floor and bring it to you. And I was like, what?
What?
Just because think about
that's
like, control
the implications
when you're like running towards, oh yeah, we need to go secure this weapon. That would open up some different, like, maybe I don't need to go all the way up there. I could, like, if I'm good enough in my aim, like, yoink, and be gone by the time the other team's starting to come up, you know, on a hill and be like, wait, the rocket launcher's gone? It's like, haha, I got it. You know, we'll have to see how it works out in real life, or like when we're really playing it. But that was the kind of like a very small tidbit. Just like, oh yeah, you could feel. I'm like, wait, no, that's a big deal. What?
You can't just throw that in there.
I'm imagining basically something that works similar to the the super shotgun from Doom Eternal, where you can like launch as a part of the shotgun, you can just launch a grappling hook at an enemy and use them as a swinging point, and you can either fly like straight towards them or shoot towards them and use them to swing around to like just become more mobile and all that sorts of stuff. So it sounds pretty dope.
That sounds cool.
It is.
All right. Well, we found out some more news about Willow, the Willow sequels, rather. They're going to continue on the Disney Plus series, and Warwick Davis and John Chi from Crazy Rich Asians are going to be directing and producing. I haven't really ever seen Willow, so like I don't know what to expect from this, and I don't know if this is like just a piece of childhood that I just missed. But I don't know. John Chi's a good director. I don't know. Kenny, have you seen any of the other stuff that they produced or made?
What on Willow?
Yeah, on Willow, man.
I mean, Warwick Davis has more just been like every like if it's not Andy Serkis doing motion capture for a small creature, it's probably been Warwick Davis in a suit.
Okay.
So I think anything Star Wars, Star Trek, things like that. But I mean, aside from Crazy Rich, I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see. Disney Plus is not going to let something terrible come out.
That's true.
Well, you know, where's Wood? Let me knock on some.
Steve.
Wait.
I'm just like, he doesn't know, Chad. He doesn't know.
What did I miss? Is there something?
What did we miss? Hold on.
I'm sure there's not fan. I mean,
Okay, we're talking about like new things that they produce. Like I don't think they're producing anything new that's awful.
I mean, awful? Maybe not. But I mean,
there's some mediocrity.
There was a lot of
show was.
There was a lot of opinions when Crazy Rich Angels came out among like various communities that were like not entirely positive, which I won't get into. But you know, the Disney bit, I'm mostly just poking at you for Star Wars stuff. Which isn't bad. It's just polarizing.
But just Disney Plus. We could talk about.
Yeah.
Disney Plus
Disney
Star
at
Wars
large
is good.
Yeah, that's true.
Disney at large is.
Now
that's a whole different anime.
Now I've heard bad things about Mulan, so there's that. But
Oh, how quickly I forgot about that travesty.
yeah. But I did enjoy Soul, so there's that.
But
I know you have
she's
opinions
this
about it, and I have
panel
opinions too.
As a
Like-
black musician, it was alright.
There are problems, but I don't know. I still enjoyed it.
It wasn't awful. Yeah, I was just bored.
That's fair. There were some moments in that movie I'm like, all right, you should have taken this moment and just like stretched that through the whole movie. Like the scene where he's talking to his mom and the barbershop scene, take that feel and put it through the whole movie. Because those were excellent.
Well, I mean, we said this before when we were talking about it. Even though I disagreed with Steve a little bit, I think the one thing we definitely agreed on was like, it feels like it's two movies, and you should just separate out. Like, give us a jazz movie, or give us a movie about the afterlife, because otherwise you're kind of like doing some. Oh, jazz is this weird, mysterious thing, and it's so intricate and connected to the like spirit, some vague spirituality. Like, what?
Yeah, and
What?
It's a weird interpretation for like black things are complicated and I don't understand them, and jazz is also complicated and I don't understand it. Are these and spirituality is complicated and I don't understand it. It's like, can I put these all together into a movie?
It's like the butterfly meme where the guy's holding the butterfly. He's like, "Is this the black experience?"
Yeah, right. It's just jazz and black culture,
Just-
spirituality.
Yes.
Oh, geez.
Oh, it hurts.
But speaking
These
of,
things
Something we all agree on.
well, you know, I scrolled down and I was like, I'm gonna make this transition work. I'm not.
Just say it's something we all agree on because we all love this.
Speaking of things that we definitely all have the exact same opinion on, the viewership for New Line's Red Band trailer of Mortal Kombat has clocked in 116 million views in its first week, becoming the biggest trailer, their biggest trailer of all time, besting the 4-day mark of Logan and Deadpool 2. We have already talked about how hyped we are about the Mortal Kombat film. Like, basically everybody all over the internet's talked about how hyped they are about the Mortal Kombat film.
It looked good.
It looks good, not like video game movie good, where it's like, oh, it's bad, but like I want it, so it's good. Mm-hmm. something metaphor. But like this looks like an actually good film. Like the director has spoken, and like he, from an interview, he seems like he very much actually cares about like the artistic integrity of both the games and the characters as a whole, while adding in some of his new stuff into it. So we're really excited. If you haven't seen the trailer, go watch it again. Pull up the original Mortal Kombat soundtrack, hit the play button, and then start play on that trailer, because that's the only thing that's missing.
Yeah, basically. And you might say to yourself, but guys, I'm not really a Mortal Kombat fan. I just know about it and played it a little bit as a kid. You know what? Me too. I've never been good at Mortal Kombat. I still suck at it to this day, and I'm not a huge Mortal Kombat game fan. But oh my gosh, this movie looks good, and I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, I don't even play Mortal Kombat anymore. I've never been particularly good at it, but I love the Mortal Kombat universe. Like, the Mortal Kombat universe is basically, if you went over to like any 90s kids like toy chest and like ripped out all the toys they had, and it's like, you got a robot guy, you got a ninja, you got a G.I. Joe, and what if they was all fighting to the death? And that's basically Mortal Kombat.
It is, though.
So it's just like a super fun film, and you know, at this point, like the martial arts in it is looking like it's gonna be up to code enough that like if you just like martial arts films and you like good fight choreography, like I can bet that you're probably gonna get exactly what you want out of this film. So go see it, and by go see it I mean stream it through a paid service online in the safety and comfort of your own home.
Yes. Give them money, and like really, don't pirate this. Give them money. They're putting in a lot of work for this. Like, do the due diligence to actually pay these people.
We've had so many bad Mortal Kombat like live action stuff that like anything that promises to be actually good, like, come on, man, give them the $11 or the $15 or whatever it is.
Just do the
be
thing.
cool. Pay artists for their work.
All right. So in other news of things that are coming out, Twilight Zone, the Twilight Zone reboot rather, that came out on CB All Access, will soon CBS All Access. Need to slow my roll when I'm talking. It's soon going to be on Paramount Plus, which it's not really getting continued because I think they like closed it off, didn't they, Kenny? Like they decided to cancel it, and
yeah, so it's basically not getting renewed for season 3 and won't show up on Paramount Plus when the switch happens.
Right, but it's still coming to it eventually. But something else that we found out about Paramount Plus was that Paramount Plus's movies, like so when Paramount releases a new movie, instead of having the whole like same day release that some other streaming services have had, where it comes out in the theaters and then on the streaming service the same day, they're going to be waiting about 30 days to 90 days actually, which is a crazy long time before it comes on the service. I'm not really a fan of that model. Like I could see you doing something where it's like, you can go see this in a movie theater, or you can pay us now to watch it on the streaming service like Disney Plus is doing. But they're just not putting it on there until 30 to 90 days afterwards. And I'm just why? Yeah, why is this a good business decision?
It's I mean, it works for them to still okay. We could talk a long time about Warner Brothers, so I won't do that. Warner Brothers definitely screwed the pooch as far as how they announced theirs and blindsided everyone. At least Paramount's giving them a little more of a heads up. This still, to an extent, respects the theatrical window laws, theatrical window contracts that they sign with theaters when they say, we're going to release it in your theater for a number of days. So I think, obviously, the more encouraging sign would be that we were, as a nation, would be better with how we're doing with COVID so that theaters could reopen. This is probably the best middle ground that we can have right now of like folks that want to go to theaters, we'll put it out for that amount of time, but folks that are going to stay home, we'll still make sure we can make some money by putting it out eventually in a shorter time frame online or for download and so on and so forth. So it does make sense. It's not the best financial decision for either side, but it's probably the best compromise they can do. Instead of just saying, screw y'all, we're going to do it on streaming and theaters at the same time, and being like, ooh, who's going to go to the theater when you can watch it on HBO?
That's fair. I didn't think about that perspective on it. That's a good point.
Good point. Good point.
Well played.
Yes.
All right. Well, other things that we're actually pretty excited about. So Avatar, as many of you know, is one of our favorite things in the world at Nerd Union. So we found out that they're going to be continuing the Avatar universe. And we're not talking about James Cameron Avatar. We're talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra. Now, what direction? Yes. Yay! In the words of Kermit the Frog.
I'm glad you got the reference.
Yes. We don't know what direction they're going to take that. So it could be they continue onward past Legend of Korra. It could be that we get to see more of Korra in the spirit world afterwards, or we get to see like Aang and what he and the gang are doing later on. We also might get to see some stories of the earlier avatars, which is actually something that I would be pretty interested in personally.
Kiyoshi. Avatar Kiyoshi.
Avatar Murder Lady.
It's what we were just saying, telling to Jerry before we got on. Like, yes. ASAP. Post-haste. Greenlight it right now.
One of the rumors I heard was that it might in fact be on later Aang's life. And like him hopping and bopping with the Boomerang gang.
Boomerang gang. That's funny. But what would they like have as a threat at that point? Like,
no, it's just like, you know, like the stuff that Aang has to deal with and what he has to do. I mean, they still have to deal with that what's it called? What was it? That bloodbender that he had to fight. We saw it in the flashbacks in Korra. So there's still people, you know, hopping and bopping around. Like, no matter what. Despite the fact that despite the presence of the Avatar's existence, there seems to be no threat, no end to the people who are like, yeah, I could beat the Avatar in a fight. It's the people who think they could take a point off of Venus or Serena Williams in a tennis match despite the fact that they don't play tennis. It's like, come on.
Yeah, they ain't got a chance.
At all.
But we do know that it will still have Michael DiMartino and Brian Coney. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Konietzko. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. I genuinely don't know how to say it. I'm sorry. People do that to my last name. Konietzko. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
So the first project in this series is going to be an animated theatrical film that's starting production this year. So again, we don't really know what it's going to be, but we do know it's going to be a movie. So we'll let you know more once we find out more. We will probably all go see it and then come back and be like, oh my gosh. Or we'll come back and be like, oh my gosh.
We'll come back and it's like that. I give that movie 5 out of 5 Mark Ruffalo's. Alrighty.
But yes.
It's that one's for the sausage aficionado fans out there. There's a YouTuber who makes sausages out of things that you shouldn't make sausages out of, and his rating scale is 0 out of 5 Mark Ruffalo's.
Okay. I was like, I don't know where that reference is coming from, but I'm just gonna leave it.
It's an edge of YouTube. Go check it out if you ever have the time.
But we are excited that Nickelodeon is investing more into the Avatar universe, and to see that they are like, oh, people like this. We shouldn't have stopped this.
Bonkers.
Hey, crazy!
Wait a minute. We can get more money if we make more Avatar content. But not cinematically, preferably. Not in live action.
Nickelodeon has so many good franchises that they just don't capitalize on.
Rocket Power.
Rocket Power. I was thinking like Danny Phantom and Dexter's Lab, but
Dexter's Lab's not Nickelodeon. That's Cartoon Network.
Is
but
it?
yes, Danny Phantom.
Yeah, you're right.
I was gonna say Fairly Odd Parents, but no, they knew exactly how much money they could make out of Fairly Odd Parents, and they did it until they wasn't making money anymore.
Fairly Odd Parents, yeah, they handled Fairly Odd Parents well. That show's so funny.
They did.
Speaking of things that are going to be making more money, Deadpool is getting a new comic series called Black, White, and Blood. It's kind of like the continuation of that. That series already exists with like a Wolverine and a Carnage one, which is super murdery, and a lot of death and blood. But it's going to be a black and white comic. It's going to be some of his craziest stories. We don't really know a ton about like who he's going to be fighting or anything like that. But he will be getting that focus. So for those of y'all who are fans of that series, get ready, because Deadpool's getting his own, which will promise to be probably murder-tastic and hilarious all at the same time.
Nice. The perfect fusion for Deadpool.
Yeah, exactly. I was just like, oh, why have we not done this before? And it fits his comic colors. Or his costume colors.
Same thing, in this case.
In other Marvel news, Kevin Feige has talked a little bit about what might be happening with some of the Netflix superheroes. So for those of y'all who don't know, I don't know why you wouldn't know, but Jessica Jones and the other Defenders had various series that were going on Netflix, and then they were like, oh, they might show up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and then they just weren't there in Endgame because reasons. I mean,
I think it's just like when everybody asks you on like a thing, it's like, oh man, are you guys gonna put like Butterfly Man in the Marvel universe? Like, I don't know, man, maybe. Damn.
I just can't believe that they would, like, Danny Rand wouldn't have like showed up and been like, "Hi, Thanos, I'm the Iron Fist."
Like, hey, what's up? I would like to be involved. It's like no.
Blue. Oh, there goes Danny.
Go back over there.
Oh.
Looks like Danny's blasting off again.
So
yeah, basically.
Kevin Feige. That's how you. I know it made Feige. Say Kevin Feige.
Feige?
Feige. I was like, who?
It's like what?
Who are you talking about?
So,
Feige.
Was it?
He sounds like a Mortal Kombat combatant. Kevin Feige.
Wow, it does.
Cyrax.
It does sound like a Mortal Kombat. Something we were not. Oh, I should have had the image up. Contractually, they obviously still own the characters. It's just more of a, do they want to continue? Obviously, they're not continuing that on Netflix, but it'd be a matter of, can they grab that and bring it onto the Disney Plus service, and or just completely reboot and restart. So I think for folks that want to see the original Daredevil and Jessica Jones and stuff come back, that's kind of the issue. Is like, because again, they have the rights to the characters, but since those properties had already started on Netflix, it's like, how do we cleanly bring them over or restart? It's a lot trickier than say like the X-Men, which is like, you really didn't get to do anything with them, and now you just own your properties back, so you can kind of just popcorn them in whenever you want to, as we're seeing so far. But
Zip.
Wow.
Save that for your show.
All right. We do have we missed some good ones on the. Taryn was talking about your Star Wars burn earlier, Jerry. Oh, we know Jerry isn't a stormtrooper because that just hit.
I like the joke.
Also said that because we know Mark Ruffalo can clone himself.
Absolutely.
That's a good reference. And then, wait, who is Frog Lives Matter? They have
a question. What's your question?
I don't know. I'm almost nervous.
Well, they'll type it in the chat. And
type it in the chat.
Leave it in the chat, and we'll get back to it.
But Jerry, I believe you have something to dunk on.
Well, hold on. One thing we missed because I didn't get into the notes is that we got a semi-ish update on Eternals. I'll throw the image up now.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it kind of came in a little late. I am not that impressed by the photo. It almost looks like everyone keeps saying it came from Marvel, and I'm like, wouldn't Marvel give us really good cast photo of it? And also make it a little bigger for folks so you can kind of see what we're talking about. But it's I'll just take it like it's like a semi photorealistic thing. I'm like,
it looks kind of bad.
Yeah. Like Marvel's, we know y'all's budget is bigger than this.
Like a lot. Like I don't know what. Like particularly my eye is drawn to the person on the far left and like the light blue armor. Like my eyes are just like, what did y'all do to this person's face?
Why are they craned over? Like they also twist their neck over. It
looks like a caricature, and it looks like it's done by in the style of a caricature, but it's not supposed to be a caricature. I don't know. I don't like it.
Folks have also been noting that Angelina Jolie's character Thena is also missing from the poster, which I'm like, I don't know what that's about either. It just seems like and again, you see the little 16-month 2022 calendar thing at the bottom, and it's like, did someone make is this like marketing made this and it's just bad? You know how like a toy face sometimes it's like that doesn't look like the actor at all.
Yeah, really.
Like the people who on the, I guess what's the left side to me, the one who's got the green and whitish armor and the red and black one, like the dude in the red and black armor looks like he is missing an arm, and like the girl's head looks like it got photoshopped badly onto the armor. Like,
yeah, it does. That's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, I have a feeling. I don't think it's real. I just can't believe Marvel would push that out.
Do such a bad job.
Yeah,
it's more just like the inconsistency on it.
Yeah, Taryn posted. I'm at the comic cover. I'm at the movie poster. I'm at the combination comic cover movie poster. I had to sing it to do it justice.
No, you're
That's amazing.
Oh man.
Oh, that's brilliant.
That made the night.
that made that picture worth it.
Taryn, you know you have to clip it, right?
Cut. Click. All right. So yeah, speaking of things that I'm about to space jam.
Go on your rant.
So this week we got to see Sony. Yeah, we got to see a couple things. We got to see Pokemon have like their own like little mini Nintendo Direct. It was called like a Pokemon presentation. I don't know what it was called. And Sony had their Nintendo Direct, which is called State of Play. Now, Kenny was streaming this, and he had himself a good little time with it. But I was watching this stream, and I was not disappointed in Kenny by any stretch of the imagination, but I was disappointed in Sony because they kind of hyped this up like, oh, we're going to have this cool State of Play and show you where we're at with stuff. But then, like, didn't really show anything that folks are super hyped. Like, there's that one game that's, what's that girl's name? Kiana or something like that? It looks like kind of magical Zelda foresty stuff. I can't remember the name of the game.
I was about to say Wildebeest for some reason. Like, what?
It's not called Wildebeest.
Um,
I'm trying to remember the name of the game because it's actually one game that I'm genuinely excited about. Kina, not Kiana.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
All right, so Kina looked really doggone good. Like, I was pretty excited. Kina Bridge of Spirits was like this really fun, like, adventure, platforming, magical game, and I'm super stoked for it.
Yeah, it looks a little bit like Ori, yeah, a little bit too.
Deathloop got some more trailer stuff, and Deathloop looks great and interesting. Like we were talking about how it looks like a Black James Bond, which is going to be great.
What about Returnal?
I did not really care about Returnal.
I just like it because it's very like Death Stranding aesthetic in a Silent Hill movie, and but very space like almost it sounds like some of the coolest parts of like more like a Dead Space. I think that's a better way to describe it. It feels like a Dead Space. But then they showed some shots of her in the house on that trailer, and I was like, what is going on? Which made me think more Silent Hill-ish. Like, oh, if I'd have had a bead on this.
Super creepy monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say it was unexpected. I'll give you that much. But
unexpected.
I just
oh my gosh.
Anyways. So
go ahead. Keep dumping on it.
We got to see some stuff that was going to be like some indie games, and nothing against indie games. We like our indie games. We like our small studios and stuff like that. But what we really were excited about, and this is one of the things we're going to talk about, is that we wanted to talk about what they had to say about their big games like God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn 2, Horizon Forbidden West, Mass Effect, and all that stuff. That's it. They ain't said nothing about it. Like, there was nothing, at all.
Sure.
What do you mean, Jerry? They said absolutely nothing about their big titles. Okay, sorry, they had one big title. They had the whole Final Fantasy Integrate thing that came out. And they're like, hey, look, we're going to have this cool Yuffie story. And we're like, oh, that looks awesome. They're going to have an update. We have some Yuffie DLC and see what she's been doing in Midgar because she's in Midgar. What? But, and you have all this cool stuff going on with her. And like, I can't wait to play that on my PS4, except it's a PS5 exclusive because money.
Yes, I apologize on Thursday, folks, because we didn't have the details yet, so I couldn't tell on the video if it were. Again, I thought things that would make sense would be that you'd already developed this engine for PS4, so surely DLC would be easy to just pop on. But no, apparently not.
Oopsie doopsie.
Yeah, like anything about their other games that they've been pretty excited about. We got gypped out of anything happening on the PS4, which you might say, well, they're having a new console come out, so they need to be pushing people towards the new console. Yeah, except production for the new console hasn't happened enough for people to have actual access to it.
But Jerry, there's a silicon shortage.
Then release your stuff on PS4 until they get it figured it out.
But
Sony builds a rocket, lands on an asteroid, mines silicone, solved problem.
See here, go to Mars.
See, you got to be solution
oriented. Team up with Elon Musk.
I guess.
See, here's the thing. You might say, "Oh, well, money," but here's the thing: you ain't gonna make. What money are you gonna make when people don't have the console?
I mean, but what money are you gonna make when people aren't buying the console?
That's the other thing.
I mean, people can't. I mean, we're. As the consumer, we're upset about the scalpers, but Sony's fine with it because they're still selling the console. Because the sooner they can keep getting things out,
fine with it.
Well, they ain't made enough of an effort.
It's Sony; they're fine with it.
I mean, but like, what are they going to do about it? It's like they're not the distributor, so it's like unless they like. Basically yell at everybody who sells PS5s. You need to completely revamp the way that you sell items so that people can't scalp our product. You know, they could say that, and you're like, yeah, we'll get right on that, and then they just don't.
Well, I don't know what Sony's doing so far on the PS Direct sales, because you do need to have a PSN account on that. But obviously, it's not hard to make a PSN account. But you think some things that would make it easy would be like, a scalper's not going to be able to keep doing that forever if you put like a length of time restriction on that. So like, hey, if you just made a PSN account, you're going to have to wait a little bit before you can buy a PS5 on this, right? Then that would at least protect it to where like you'd have to have already had a PSN account to be able to get first crack at it. And then as they've kind of whittled through, then you can kind of change those percentages and stuff like that. That would be some fixes on at least PlayStation's own site, And obviously, Best Buy and Walmart and things like that, they couldn't make a PSN requirement because that's a mess. No, it's like I get why they shouldn't do it. That's a mess. But there's some things PlayStation could do, like hey, if you've been if you're a Sony dude, if you're sorry, it's not Sony dude, Sony player, and you want to buy some of our content or buy our console, well, at least make sure that you can get in for our direct site, and then that would at least cut a source out for scalpers and be like, oh well, we're not gonna be able to do it on Sony's site anymore. But
yeah,
I mean, my computer scientist brain like fires up every time I'm like thinking about like the processes of what can you do to stop somebody from exploiting your system, and the answer is every trap you create to stop somebody from exploiting your system only begets more ingenuity on those who want to exploit your system. So it's the problem of creating a foolproof trap is underestimating the ingenuity of a complete fool. Like, so the long and short of it is like, what can you do? Like, yeah, there's maybe a few low-hanging fruits, but like ultimately those are just other obstacles to impede is in quotes, like scalpers, but like it won't stop them. It will perhaps slow them down, but it doesn't like. You will not beat a scalper who has 100 bots or 1,000 bots or 100,000 bots, because the number is basically irrelevant. But you're not going to beat them in a race of like, okay, cool, we got 500 consoles starting at midnight. Go. Like he's already won before you've even realized, it's time to go. Like, let me hit enter. Game's already lost. Like, if even 100 of his bots win, that's 100 PS4s that you don't get, that nobody else gets.
But see, my beef here is that they want to market something about like, oh, we really care about our players and stuff like that. Then if you realize that most of your player base still doesn't have access to your new console because of scalpers or production problems, why are you creating things that are exclusive to only your new console if that's going to be your marketing point?
But I mean,
and obviously the answer is money.
The ball's probably already in motion way before the scalpers like get a hold. Like, okay, cool, the console's gonna come out, December, November, whatever. We're gonna start on this way ahead of time. So once the console's out, we'll already be poised to release. And then scalpers starts happening. So it's like you might not be able to make adjustments mid-course.
Okay, but they should have known that was gonna happen. Wait,
hold on. To bolster Steve's point, though, what normally happens take the pandemic away for a second. What normally happens after Christmas from a major launch? The January to February time period, there might still be some scarcity, but generally stuff starts to get replenished, and you're like, okay, we'll be able to, we can start kind of making our shift to, like, we can have a debate about whether things should be shifting so quickly across to the new console, but generally they're like, okay, if people want it, they generally can start to be able to walk into the store and get it. So if you're already like, you've done Final Fantasy VII Remake, to what Steve's saying, and then you're like, okay. And even though what I just said about the engine having already been made,
that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Is that, but if you're planning out further, you're like, okay, so we're going to stop. We made an engine for PS4, but we're going to go ahead and stop and start making this work for PS5 and optimize it for that. And we're just going to work on next Final Fantasy Remake Part 2 is going to come out on PS5. If they've already done that, and then pandemic hits, trying to what Steve is saying exactly, it's like trying to change gear for that PS4 port. And again, you might still have been thinking, oh, but they'll get this worked out, and it just continue to get worse, and there's just nothing realistically that you could do. Now they might come back and fix this and be like, all right, how hard is it going to be to create a PS4 port of this real quick?
Okay, but like,
I think that's pretty likely to go back and release it. Like, there's been a bunch of games that have been released after the fact, looking at you, Skyrim, on on older systems. So it's like, if the PS5 is like, that's the version that we want everybody to experience, that's going to be the best version of this thing to play. Like, we're going to hit that one first, and then we'll start rolling out the PS4 version and the refrigerator version and the TI-85 version and all that stuff.
All right, but also, like, why would you create a DLC that's console exclusive? Like, why?
Like,
that's
a new game. Okay, I understand Remake Part 2 being on the PS4.
It's probably some executive somewhere who's like, this is a good idea. And everybody's like, well, I mean, I disagree, and I told you that, but I can't stop you. So we're just going to do it.
Doug also brings up a great point. They also raised the price of Final Fantasy VII Remake to $70 on the PS5. I
What?
did not know that.
Yeah, that's rude. That is so rude.
That is whack. That's,
You know what?
Yep.
Forget everything I just said.
that's like selling somebody one glove and be like, "Yo, how much for this left glove?" "Oh, my dude, that'll be $5. "Oh, cool. How much for the right glove?" That'll be $200. It's like, excuse me?
Wow. We need to dig into this more. Maybe not but I just changed from like sympathetic to like upset on a dime.
Yep. Eyebrows have been raised from intrigued to angry.
Ah. Here come Mr. Angry.
But yeah, generally I liked the state of play until we got those confirmations. So, and again, if it is going to be more like their Nintendo Direct comparison, I'm fine with that. Unless because this really wasn't meant to be like the big one we had over the summer. 'Cause the one over the summer was like
Pop, pop.
you know, and like a couple days before, they'd already given us the Ratchet and Clank update of like, yeah, that's gonna stay with June. Like you're gonna be able to get, or May. I think it was May. So it's like that Last of Us Part 2 time frame from last summer, and be like, yeah, we're gonna get some good Sony exclusives coming up soon.
That reminds me, we also didn't hear about Ratchet and Clank.
Well, I mean, but they'd already announced it. So I guess unless you wanted more gameplay, but we've already kind of got a
Of
good.
course, I want more gameplay.
And I just want Jack and Daxter back.
Me
Yes!
too.
Come on,
Just-
that's a
just-
classic.
It was just remake Jack and Daxter 2 and 3. Don't nobody care about the first game?
We got nothing on PS3. And then before
was
someone
like-
says we got the remaster collection, I was like, but we didn't get new Jack on PS3. So it's like, and no, did we get any? We didn't get any on PS4.
Nope.
That
So-
franchise is done. Dunskies. Dead.
Nothing.
There's all these classic PS2 franchises that are just kind of
Vibing.
sitting there.
No, they want Kratos. Murder. Brrr.
And God of War on PS4 was dope. That was a great
It was-
restart.
it
I
was
was
good.
like, I'm in. Yes, this is neat. And Christopher
Persona
Judge
is
doing
also
the
good,
voice.
but
Mm-hmm.
Doug says he can't wait to play Final Fantasy on his fridge. You could do that now. Just take a Nintendo Switch, tape it to the fridge, duct tape.
Grab the Joy-Con.
First
There
of all,
you go.
rude. And second,
But speaking
Well,
oh, sorry, go ahead, Kenny.
no, you're good.
Do your thing. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. I was going to say, speaking of things that we have mixed opinions about, but are ultimately excited about, Valheim. If you have been on Steam anytime in this past week, you have probably seen my such and such friend is playing Valheim. Such and such friend is playing Valheim. Such and such friend is playing Valheim. What is this?
Yeah, tell us about this because I don't really know what it is.
All right, cool. So Valheim. So I'll give you the quick rundown. Valheim is an early access game. It is the crux of it is it's a kind of survival, exploration, combat based game, wherein which is heavily steeped in, maybe not heavily steeped, but like lightly steeped in Norse mythology. For me, for folks who are like early access game, for me as somebody who has a not super hard but somewhat flexible rule against early access games, when my friends told me about it, it literally ticks every box for this game is going to be hot garbage. Early access, open world, procedurally generated, and I'm just like, oh, okay, so you mean this game is garbage? Because those things are inherently bad, but usually when you see the combination of those three things, the developers are like, the moment that they figure out procedural generation, they're like, it's time to go into early access now. And then like you buy the game and like there's nothing to do except chop down trees and kill deer. And like, that worked for Minecraft when they came out because they were the first procedurally generated open world survival, blah, blah, blah. However, we've come to demand more. And Valheim delivers. So one things that Valheim does very well is that whomever on their development team basically said, there needs to be a certain level of sufficient completeness to the game before we can release it to early access, to the point where it doesn't feel like the game's just not done, and everybody plays it for a week, and then they all get bored, and then they never ever play it ever again until the game is done. Because that's what happens with a lot of early access, procedurally generated, blah, 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 open world games. Valheim feels not totally complete. There's a lot of quality of life stuff that one would expect to follow pretty soon. But as you've probably noted from their recent popularity, at least among your friend group, depending on your friend group, they have made, I think it was something to the tune of 4 million sales in the past week. And you might have noticed that you didn't hear about this game until the past week. That's because it just came out. They are, by metrics of most concurrent players, the second highest played game on Steam, just behind Counter-Strike.
Wow.
Bonkers.
Wow.
Bonkers. People are playing this game and they're playing it fast. Like the number of hours that the collective has racked up is already greater than 10,000 hours. And the game has like been out for like a week, if even. So those are some of the accolades associated with the game. But the game is pretty solid. Like, it's a lot of fun. I feel like the core gameplay loop is really decent. At the point that I'm at, I've played, let's see how many hours. Probably I've played 27 hours of Valheim. I feel like the progression is reasonably well paced. There's enough to do. The crafting system feels intuitive and sufficiently complex, in that one of the things that I really appreciate is buildings require supports. You can't just place something in the sky or build something tall and then really far out forever, because it will eventually collapse. So you need to have structural integrity built into your structures, which is really neat. I really like it. The biomes feel like they're just the right size. Some of them are a little big. Some of them are kind of small, depending on what kind of generation that you get. And there's just a lot of things to explore. It's very easy for somebody to jump in and out of your world, and for you to go into somebody else's. Also, for a RPG big fan like me, it has RPG elements. So, like, as you do stuff, just like you did for folks who have played Oblivion, like, every time you jump, you get a little bit of jump EXP.
Nice.
Every time you swing an axe or a sword, you get a little bit of axe or sword EXP. So I love stuff like that. So, like, the moment that, like, my friend got to that after procedurally generated open world early access game that has RPG elements, I was like, you should have started with that at the time. So for me, like as somebody who is generally wary of early access games and like blah blah blah, it's gonna come out, it has a feature and a half, and I'm gonna be bored in a week, and I'm gonna wish I never bought it. This feels like a good buy. Even if you don't, come back to it later, there's enough meat and potatoes here that, like, you'll have a good experience and you won't feel like, oh man, I wish I played it when it had more content, and now I got this big catalog and I'm never ever going to come back to it, because that's what I always say, because it's true. It's a lot of games to play and a lot of them are good, so you can't play everything under the sun, so you play what you can when you want to, and sometimes you just don't want to go back to stuff. Right. But yeah, so that's my take on Valheim. That's kind of what the whole deal's about. It's like recent boom in popularity. And I'm really excited to see, all the features that they add, and especially now they got all that $4 million money that they can now throw at it. So I'm excited.
Taryn, if you want to clip that, we'll just use that as our Valheim review.
There you go.
Hey! All right, well, that wasn't the only news that we got this week. We also got a lot of Pokemon news. We found out... So, first of all, there was a Post Malone Pokemon concert. I still haven't watched it because I don't care. But I'm just not a Post Malone fan enough to care. Also, he, redid I Only Want to Be With You by Hootie and the Blowfish, and you shouldn't do that. Like, that's like when Weezer redid Africa, and I'm like, but why? That song is perfect. So... They came out with that this week. It was the 25th anniversary of Pokemon this past Saturday. And they announced a couple of projects that they've been working on for quite some time. We also got to see a whole lot more footage for Pokemon Snap, which anybody I know who's into Pokemon Snap is just out of their minds thrilled right now. Because that game looks good. I don't even like Pokemon Snap, and that game looks good. I might get it anyways. But we found out that they are, in fact, making a remake of the Sinnoh games. Sort of. And by they, I mean not they. I mean, there is a Sinnoh remake happening for Gen 4, but it is by a different studio named IRRC, I want to say. So it's intriguing because this is the first time that they really trusted another studio to create like a main series game. People have mixed receptions about it. Some people are just excited that we're getting a remake of the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl series. Other people are less than happy because of the graphical looks of the game. And some of you guys might be saying, well, it can't be worse than Sword and Shield because that was not really that great. Depending on what you mean by worse, it could be. So Diamond and Pearl are going to be having a chibi style in the overworld part of the game anyways.
Okay. So like classic Pokemon. Kind
of, but like it's like a 3D chibi. So like, have you ever seen like the little kids' toys called Little People?
I have not.
Okay, I'm trying to think about what to compare this against. Man, like it's like this little chibi art. It's like Mini Gundam, like the Mini Gundam series.
Oh no,
like SD.
Not G Gundam. What was that called?
SD Gundam.
SD Gundam.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, it's like that.
That was the worst Gundam.
Hey, just because it was the worst Gundam doesn't mean it's gonna be the worst Pokey. Who am I kidding?
Okay, wait.
Myself as I say that.
All right. Now, before that, so yes, they're going with that style because it's a different studio making it. So Game Freak isn't doing that. I don't know what resources that studio has access to, but that's basically the style that they're going with. But they were saying this because they wanted to keep it faithful to the original, or as faithful to the originals as they could. Which, if you made it into like Sword and Shield style, there's no way you could make that like have that same kind of fidelity to it. You're still going to be doing like a top-down viewing of the game. You're going to be seeing your little chibi dude walking around or girl walking around, going catching Pokemon.
As somebody who didn't make it to the Sword and Shield era, that's exactly what I want.
Oh, we'll see. You might be happy about this then.
I don't want to play a 3D Pokemon game. I want an isometric view. I want to walk around in lightly defined but still very clear cubic spaces. And I would like at least one Pokemon to be trailing behind me of my choice.
All right, well, I've got disappointing news for you later on in the show. But continuing on Diamond and Pearl, you're going to be having the chibi overworld style. It's going to be more similar. It's going to be like not modernized version of Diamond and Pearl, but it will be a more updated version of Diamond and Pearl in that kind of style. Like if they were to make another specifically handheld console, I would imagine it would look something like this. The battles, on the other hand, will be more similar to Sword and Shield style, which I'm okay with it. Like I didn't really hate it. I know people had issues with it, but I didn't really hate the art style for the battle system and that. I am excited because I've heard that they're going to be including some of the elements of Pokemon Platinum, and Pokemon Platinum is like my second favorite Pokemon game ever. Like Pokemon Platinum is really, really doggone good. And there's so many like overworld mythical Pokemon things happening in that game, and I'm really hoping they bring all of that into the Diamond and Pearl remakes and even add some more stuff. But we got to see a lot of that content. People had mixed feelings about it, but there is a good amount of the community that's pretty excited about it still. And Steve's excited about it. I don't know what I wanted, but I'm still probably going to buy this anyway. So I apparently am excited. What we're really, really hype about, and everybody pretty much agrees on this, is we got to see another main series Pokemon game. And by the way, Diamond and Pearl will be coming out this year. It's going to be called, what is it called? Radiant or Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. And that will be coming out later on this year. We don't know when later on. They just said later this year. Expect a review later this year. Because I love Pokemon. Now, what was interesting is that we got 2 Pokemon game reveals. And this next one is by Game Freak Studio. Kenny, do you have an image you want to pull up with that real quick? Before I jump into this, because like I can't do it justice without an image. Let me know when that's up. So we found out that we're going to be getting another. It's up. All right. So as you can see, this is different. We got to find out that we're going to be getting a game called Pokemon Legends Arceus. For those of you who know the series, Arceus is basically like the god of Pokemon. What's interesting about this, basically, praise the Arceus. What's interesting about this series is that it's set in the past in like ancient Sinnoh, feudal Sinnoh, whatever. So your goal is that you're going to be making the first the first known Pokedex, which
What? That's cool.
apparently Professor Oak is a scrub.
I mean, we've known Professor Rose was a scrub.
But as you can see from this image, it looks a little bit different than what we've known before. That's because it's an open world Pokemon game, which I am super duper thrilled about. And you're like, what do you mean open world? Have you played Breath of the Wild? If you play Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, that's what this looks like. There's been some other leaked images of like your Pokemon helping you climb up on various things or being able to fly around the world, like being carried by your Pokemon and stuff like that. Right? And like riding around on your Pokemon in the water and such. Like, this looks so good, y'all. Like, this is like the dream open world Pokemon game that we've always wanted. Now, as far as the combat system goes, it's kind of up in the air about what that exactly looks like. We did get to see a clip of some of the move sets of like a Lucario in the game. We don't really know if it's turn-based or not. It might be more similar to Final Fantasy VII's ATB system from some of the rumors that we've been hearing. So kind of a mixture of like action RPG and Pokemon turn-based style. We also don't know like whether or not you're still going to be doing like a full team of 6 Pokemon or whatever. We do know that your Pokemon follows you around in the open world with you. So that's cool, or can follow you around for a little bit, at least in the combat systems. If you see a Pokemon in the field, though, you also apparently have the option to just straight up throw a Pokeball at it when you see it. Now, I don't know if it's going to be like you throw a Pokeball to catch it before you run into them, or if you can like choose to specifically battle it and then weaken it down so it's a little bit easier to catch. But it, like, we saw a video where the trailer just like snuck up on a Shinx and just chucked a Pokeball and caught the Shinx, like in the middle of this big grassy field. And I was like, excuse me? Like, seamless transition, didn't go to none of that, just walked up, zoop, done. Like,
Kobe.
yeah, basically. That's probably what I'm going to do every time I play it. So I'm really excited about this game. We don't really know what the main story is. We know it will have something to do with Arceus. There are rumors floating around about whether or not Team Galactic's going to have played in this, because if you look at the main character's emblem on the side of their jacket, it looks suspiciously like Team Galactic's emblem. And it also, apparently, the kanji on it translated out to say galaxy. So there's, yes. Yeah, that's very sus. There's rumors that this game could be set in a world that Cyrus created when he was dealing with stuff with Dialga and Palkia. So that would be a really interesting turn of events. I don't know if that's what's going on, but I'm really excited about the game. It looks super good, and we will get more news about that whenever we have it. If you haven't had a chance to go watch it, go check out the trailer. You will be blown away. It's on YouTube.
What I want to know is, how many places do we get to travel to?
I mean, I don't know. Sinnoh looks huge in this. Like, it looks as big as Hyrule in Breath of the Wild.
I mean, I would say probably not a whole bunch of places, because like you want each place to feel big.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want it to be like, oh yeah, like Sinnoh is 45 minutes from end to end or whatever. Like, you know, you want it to feel big. So I would wager that the world is probably going to be maybe one, you know, province in the Pokemon world. I don't know what they call their areas. Regions. One province in the Pokemon world. Region. There you go. Region.
And that's not to say that you can't have multiple like areas in there, because like Genshin does a really good job of like having multiple areas that you can spend hours in, like Mondstadt and Liyue, and then like even the Dragonspine area. I spent so much time on that stupid mountain. This was just one mountain that I spent gobs and gobs of time on.
Freezing yourself to death.
Yeah,
I'm
that
just
part.
saying, we have wanted the ability to go to some of these different regions in the same game, and we ain't got it yet. And
no, but I'll take.
Like, well, okay.
Kenny, I'm going to tell you a secret. Don't tell anybody I told you. Just buy one of the fan-made games that's just very different and allows you to go to a whole bunch of different places all in the same game. They exist. I won't tell you what they're called, but you can find them on the internet, and you can buy a physical copy and put it into the game.
What?
Moving on before we get.
You said physical copy.
We don't want that CD. Anyways, moving on. Speaking of Genshin Impact, Genshin Impact has some news that I actually didn't know about was happening at this moment. You want to tell us a little bit more about that, Steve?
Good transition. Yeah. So the next update's coming out. I believe so. It's not confirmed because the last update, 1.3, I think came out February 4th, February 2nd, 3rd, something like that. Very recently.
It's getting close to time for a new update.
Yeah. So the next update is gently speculated to come out around March 15th. March 17th. Because it's like right around the amount of time that it takes. What we're expecting based off of some in-game conversations, and it's a little bit of news that MiHoYo has dropped, is that it will focus on the Mondstadt Festival. For folks who just recently played through the Lunar New Year Festival, was the Lantern Festival, which took place in Liyue.
It was dope.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I didn't do a lot of it until like the last week, so I had to bulldoze my way through all these events this past week.
That's a lot.
It was a lot, but I got my C6 Shangling, so I'm all good. But the next event will focus on the Windbloom Festival, which takes place in Mondstadt. We don't know that much about it. They've been playing it pretty close to the vest and so forth. But if you talk to some of the in-game characters, they mention oh man, if you like the Lantern Festival, you're gonna love the Windbloom Festival in Mondstadt. Blah blah blah. Yeah. So if this event's gonna be anything like the last one and the previous ones, we should expect lots of opportunities for Primo Gems, some Ascension materials, event quests, probably another character, and the regular razzle dazzle stuff that always comes with all that. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I took a brief break from Genshin for a little while because I kind of caught up on all the stuff, and I wanted to, stop doing my daily tasks every day to go play other things and eventually get sucked into Valheim and yada yada yada.
Yeah, there also is a new banner out for this girl named Hu Tao, who's this magical ghost girl. I don't really know. She's really dumb OP though. She's strong.
I mean, everybody's strong if you believe hard enough. That's not true.
Not in that game.
Not in that game.
There's no such thing as the power of friendship there.
Looking at you, Amber.
All right, so that's it for what we got for tonight. As far as things that are going on Nerd Union this week, the Commander Ship Show is happening Wednesday at 8 p.m. And it's hosted by Kenny and Major Tom, which Kenny's called Commander Ship at our place because we like to just have names for folks. I don't know, we're weird. This week they're going to be discussing the Golden Globes, WandaVision, episode 8, and probably more than that. You said that there's a new show that you're also doing this week, Kenny?
We have a new show coming out on Thursdays. So Red Shirt Rejects is every other week. So while the Red Shirts is not on, we're going to be doing a show that we had previously been toying around calling Super Blurred Brothers, but also wanted to be more inclusive, so we took Drop the Bros and kind of made a play off of old Variety Hour jokes. So it'd be Super Blurred Variety Hour. And this is effectively a show to be able to talk about. So it's not only going to be about black issues. We're also just going to have a good time talking about games and stuff like that. Or just anything, any other nerd topics that we don't have a time to talk about on State and Nerd Union because we're always covering news here. And I'll be hosting that. Be inviting some other creators, inviting you and Steve onto the show. But also other good black creators onto the show to talk about things they're working on, or other folks that are streaming on Twitch and being like, how did you get started? Different things like that. So it'd be kind of like a rotating cast of folks that are coming in and out to host on it or to collaborate and talk. And we might stream, but it might be more of a just talking over a beer and stuff online and things like that. So, yeah. But we didn't want to do that every week just because I would get exhausted.
Yeah.
I love y'all, but between producing other stuff on that, I was like, yeah, that would get exhausted. But once a month also seemed too few. It was like, yeah,
Agreed.
That might not be. So, yeah, with Red Shirts being every other week, it seemed like a perfect, slot that into the other spot. So
slide to the right.
Yep.
Quick.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say, also a quick comment back to Doug about Zelda's 35th anniversary. I would love to talk more about Zelda's 35th anniversary, except there's not really much going on for it because Nintendo has not done anything about it, which I could go into a whole rant about that.
Because that was this Sunday, right? It's weird.
Nothing.
I guess, the Skyward Sword...
The Skyward Sword HD remake is not enough to commemorate the 35th anniversary.
No. You're right. I just feel like why not drop that on? Why not hold that until this Sunday? So at least that'd be something. And then it's like, you did so much for Mario. It's like, and again, I get it's Mario, but also Zelda.
Yeah.
You know, it's not F-Zero we're talking about here, and I love F-Zero, but F-Zero is not Zelda and it's not Mario. You know, like what's going on?
And you could have just talked about like, oh hey, in our minds at our studio, it's still the 34th anniversary because COVID happened, and it's still March. Like that would have been 100% an acceptable answer. And so if you guys are backed up on that because of that, cool. We'll just pretend like.
That's true. I mean, and like if you think of like great Zelda things that we've gotten, like one of my favorite notable ones was the collector's edition that came out on GameCube, which I'm not even certain if it was for an anniversary, but it was, what was it, Majora's Mask. What it had I think 3 games in there. I want to say it was Majora's Mask.
As I pan and look at my shelf.
What else
is this on GameCube?
Yeah, this is on GameCube.
One moment.
Hold up. I gotta look it up. Yeah, it had okay, here we go. It had the original Zelda in there. It had Zelda 2, Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time, and a demo for Wind Waker.
Yeah, I would love for that to come out on Switch. Like, you could have done that.
So it was Legend of Zelda, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask. And it had a demo for Wind Waker, too. It was bonkers.
I just read it, Kenny. I'm sorry.
Oh, dang it!
You was on a roll. I didn't want to stop.
Sorry. I said one second.
I know. I looked it up.
I'm going to put these headphones on, and I'm going to go stick this back on my shelf. So mad at you.
All right, but long story short, we would love to talk about that, but Nintendo ain't done nothing for it. So there's that.
But what we do want to talk about is we want to give a major props and shout out to our Patreon supporters. We want to give a special, and I'm going to apologize if I mess up anybody's name. Want to give a special shout out to Shelby Johnson, Viche, and Doug Schumann. Thanks for supporting us. We appreciate your monthly contributions that help us run these live shows and our upcoming video series. So thanks a bunch, guys. We really appreciate the support.
Yeah, so that's all we got for tonight, y'all. Thanks for joining us. Remember, subscribe to our Twitch, Facebook, YouTube channels, and you'll get to see notifications about all of our live shows and our upcoming series on movies, games, and more nerd content, and all the other random stuff we like to throw in there when we have like random announcements or gaming times, like Kenny doing State of Play this week. So yeah, that's all we've got, and we will see you on Monday.